There was a talk earlier, I was quite philosophical. I've been reading into actual philosophy in the last couple of years, so I like that aspect. But then seeing more of the practical, this is how this company failed with this project, or this is how you can practice being a more creative person, or what it means. I think there's been a really nice mix, so I've taken stuff from every talk, I think.
One of the things in terms of UX is sometimes people think creativity is just making something different. And that really doesn't work if different makes it harder to use. Okay, so being creative, it's got to also be functional.
Hi, I'm Mike Green, and welcome to Understanding Users, the podcast where I chat candidly with UX design and research professionals from around the world to hear about how they build digital products and services in a user-centered way.
I'm David Joyner. I'm business analyst and product manager. I work for Capgemini.
Hi, and I also work for Capgemini. I'm a digital product manager and used to be more in UX, so I'm always interested to come to this conference.
My name's Phil Bloom, and I work for a small museum and heritage centre where we maintain 2 or 3 of our own websites with local history data.
My name is Natasha. I'm a student from the University of Brighton.
My name's Sophie Connor. I am from Endless Game, that's a company name, and I'm a UX researcher for them.
Mel Leaf. I work in product management, and I work for a company called Maru, which is recently acquired by Stagwell.
I'm Andy. I am a service design contractor.
I'm Carl. I work at a company called Bookwhen. We help people set up their own events.
So my name's Rachel Smith. I'm working for a mental health charity up in London.
My name's Dan Lacey. I'm a UI designer. I work with a company called Mercator Digital.
Hello there, my name's Trevor Spink. I run a small digital agency called Ionic Digital.
And is it your first time at UX Brighton?
Yeah, it's my first time.
It's not. I'm a bit of a veteran. I've been a few times. Yeah, I'm a local as well, so tend to come pretty much every year. Hear the different talks. I like the fact that it's a different topic every year, different themes.
Seriously, what keeps me coming back is because I like the way that it's themed each time, and Dan, I think, curates it really well in finding speakers who can kind of tease apart the theme, but from different perspectives.
Yeah, first time this year. Yeah, very. Well, I'm new to Brighton, so we've moved in here about a year ago, and I thought it would be good to go out and network with kind of people that do the same kind of thing that I do.
No, I'm afraid not. I'm a vintage person who's been on the UX scene in Brighton for many years. I think this is about my 6th.
Are there any particular speakers that stood out for you? Any particular talks that resonated?
Do you know, I've enjoyed all of them. Actually, this year has been really good. I think the first 2, I'm just going to remind myself. So the first one was all about what is creativity. I loved that one because it was kind of like going back to basics about the philosophy and psychology of things. So I studied cognitive science. So Margaret Bowden was a big influence on me. So it's nice to be reminded of that. And then Stephanie, I thought her data, like the way that she presented data was just amazing, and I wrote down a number of things that I'm going to go and look up later. And so we had a little break, and then it was Mark after that. He was really interesting, quite funny. I thought that was good. And then Tricky, he was coming into it in a different way. I think he was kind of coming at it in quite a similar way to Tom, but I think it was good still. And yeah, the last 2 were good too. So
There was one speaker who talked about the fact that sometimes it's difficult to get ideas on the spot. So I really like that approach rather than the idea of coming up with an idea in like 20 minutes or something, because as someone who's autistic, processing speed is a bit slower for me, but that doesn't necessarily mean my idea is not going to be a good idea.
Definitely really enjoyed it. It's a step away from what I normally do, and it's given me some more thoughts outside of my normal role.
Yeah, I particularly like Chris Howe. I thought his was very entertaining, and also Tom Kerwin. But they were all good. All good.
If you could describe kind of your one key takeaway from what you've heard so far, what would it be?
You don't have to stick to the sort of set rules that are there. You can go away from them, but also sort of return to them, develop them. They're there as sort of a starting point, but you can mould them to what you need. Question yourself as you're going along, but also sort of what you're making and why. I think that's the most important part to me.
Well, I've got one actually at the moment. I'm trying to build a data set which is imperfect. So at the end of that last lady's talk about how can you draw some visualizations, tell some stories from that, either visually or not, even while accepting that the data's not perfect, I think is really important. So I'm going to try and take away and think about how to do that straight away from that one.
I think for me, there's stuff there that we could certainly think about in terms of, we do a lot of user research sessions with our key users, if you like, and how you visualise the outcomes and the answers you get, the feedback about the stuff we're showing them. I think it could be a lot more visual, and I'd like to think about how we could try and integrate some of the stuff we've seen today into that.
Learning a bit about how other people see the world, because I think being genuinely creative is, if you like, a moment of genius rather than a process. It almost defies process. Process can be an obstacle. So I'm really curious to see how others maybe have been able to use process to be creative, or how they manage to sidestep it.
Breaking rules, I think, probably. Because, I think certainly in my, what I tend to do certainly in government is, working within the design system very heavily, and, there's a set of kind of guide rails to follow, quite often certain expectations that teams tend to have. But you also have to be kind of creative in overcoming certain challenges. Time constraints is something I'm working, on a project at the moment that has quite strict time constraints.
I think I'm going to do a little work on myself and kind of, I love drawing and things like that, but I never get time to do it. But I think after today, I'm going to do something creative. So I'm not just going to talk about creativity, I'm actually going to do it.
I think it'd be like a note to self, really, not to hone in on an idea too quickly, because I think that's what I'm guilty of, is to allow yourself to be creative, and I believe that everyone is creative in some way.
I think the data visualization is really, really interesting, actually, because we spend a lot of time thinking about data. We spend a lot of time thinking about how to collect it, how to get it from people without introducing biases, and then how to report it back to our clients. So the data visualization just gave me a few kind of bits of inspiration, I would say, to take back into the office.
I think it's kind of like, I suppose, the ideas of sort of looking for sort of opportunities to sort of like, break out those molds that you have, sort of working collaboratively, being creative in limited space.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Understanding Users. If you enjoyed what you heard, do please like or comment wherever you're listening, and feel free to share this episode more widely. And feel free, of course, to drop me a line with any feedback via LinkedIn or my website, researchable.uk. Join me again next time when I'll be sharing some more insights from digital design professionals. Until then, stay safe and stay user-centered.